What a shocking day for markets and for Tesla stock investors. At one point today, Tesla stock was down over 3%. You have since pared back most of those losses heading into the end of the trading day. What in the world is going on here? Well, let me tell you right now. A lot of it has to do with the Israel conflict and lower yields. We have a lot to get into, some new developments in this Israel war that you critically need to know right here and right now. It's not as good as you would think, although stocks have soared today. We have all of this and much more. A lot of breaking news to get into in regards to Tesla stock as well. Everything you need to know as a Tesla stock investor. Hit the like button if you own a single share or more of Tesla stock. Subscribe to the channel if you guys want to stay up to date with everything going on in the markets as well as Tesla stock. This Israel conflict, anything that can affect your money is what we focus on here on this channel, as well as you know, Tesla stock each and every single day. Also, hit the like button because my 50 tabs open at any given time has finally come back to haunt me. The computer crashed after filming a 2-hour long segment, and yeah, we got to start over. So, true dedication coming at you guys live. Let's go ahead and get into it. So I am very excited to get into everything Tesla, look at the option activity, look at the technicals, everything you need to know as a Tesla stock investor. But I think this Israel conflict is by far the most important thing that is happening for the markets as of right now. And it's not as pretty as you would think if you look at the markets today. You're actually seeing a fear move. Investors are fearful today, believe that or not. We'll get into that here in just a moment, but some of the biggest developments would be Israel has announced a total blockade of the Gaza Strip. This means no energy, no food, no water. This, to me, seems like it's going to be a pretty quick event to getting an actual invasion into the Gaza Strip. It doesn't look likely that they just completely starve everyone out for an extended period of time. They're likely doing this for a day or two, and then they're going to make their way into the Gaza Strip. Now, this is potentially bad news because the Gaza Strip, Palestinian origin, well, it runs deep in Iran as well as Lebanon. Specifically, Iran, about 90% of Iran's population is the same Muslim group as the residents in the Gaza Strip, from my understanding from the data that you can collect on Google. So that's not great. And that opens the door for a, we're saving our people moment from Iran. That's where a lot of the uncertainty comes into play. As I have said countless times, the markets can handle bad news. The markets cannot handle uncertainty. Now, a potential wider conflict here that could involve Iran, it could even open the door for Israel to attack Iran, in which they have talked about, alluded at, as soon as September of this year, or as long ago as September of this year. So that could open the door for a much bigger conflict, and that's the real reason and the real problem for our markets. That's where the uncertainty comes from. Take a look at this headline. The Israeli Prime Minister's persistent obsession with the Islamic Republic may finally drag the U.S. into another disastrous regional war. When you're getting headlines like this, it's hard for investors to be bullish. Now, if you look at the broader indexes, something like the NASDAQ is up over 0.5% today at the time of recording this video. At one point, the NASDAQ was down almost 1%. So you have rallied about 1.5% from the lows today. But in fact, investors are fearful. This is not a good move for markets. And I think that's what a lot of people are going to miss out of today. They're going to sit here and say, the NASDAQ was green 0.5%. This is bullish. Stocks are bullish. No, they are not. Throughout the day today, bonds have been getting bought. Now, why is this a problem? Well, energy, specifically oil, is up 4% today. this should be inflationary. This should cause investors to sell the bonds. Investors are buying the bonds because they are fearful and they are uncertain that this could spread into an even larger conflict. You are also seeing GLD, which tracks the price of gold in an ETF form, is up about 1.5% today. So basically all of your fear asset classes are ripping higher today, whereas gold recently has been plummeting. That makes sense. Yields should be going higher if gold is going down. That means things are fine. But today, yields are falling and gold is going higher. That's not great when oil is up 4%. Hopefully this makes some sense. If it does not, let me tell it to you in just boring old English. Today is very bearish. Very, very bearish. And it's not the end of this situation for the markets. But in fact, how the markets operate in times of uncertainty goes something like this. Again, what I say all the time, the markets can handle bad news. They can't handle uncertainty. But no news is good news. The fact that Iran did not make a statement about bombing Israel is good news. That's a reason for algorithms to buy stocks. That's a reason for some people to look at this situation as maybe it's not getting worse. But in fact, it's probably going to get worse from here before all things are said and done. So judging off of this almost 2% rise in TLT here on the day today, well, you can probably assume that bond yields are rising about 10 basis point or decreasing about 10 basis points or more. So that is a lot of money heading into bonds. A lot of people fail to forget. The bond market is ultimately what you want to pay attention to. 9 times out of 10, the bond market is correct over the stock market. Bond market today is saying sell stocks. There's fear out there. This could get worse. Stocks are saying, well, you should buy the markets because they're going higher. I think a lot of this does have to do as well with the algorithmic effect to bonds. What I mean by that is 70% of the trading activity on any given day is done by algorithms. Algorithms are programmed right now to sell stock when bond yields go higher, buy stock when bond yields go lower. I don't think they're necessarily programmed to what's happening over in Israel and the potential implications for the US. What should also strike you as quite alarming with this bid in bond yields and this rise in stocks today is the Strait of Iran. About 30% of the world's oil flows through that. So if you were to get a conflict or retaliation from Iran, they could just stop the flow of oil. And imagine what that would do. So this 4% rise in oil, well, that might not even be the end of it. That's very inflationary. Bond yields should not be falling on this. So in regards to this Israel war conflict situation, whatever you want to call it, I don't care. Let's not be political here. I will keep you guys up to date with any new developments that will move the markets and ultimately your portfolio, because this situation's not over and it does not look pretty. A matter of fact, it looks shockingly bearish. As far as Tesla stock news today, Wells Fargo has cut its Tesla price target to $260 per share from $265 per share. The Cybertruck is on track to become the #1 cross-shopped vehicle against Rivian, says Edmunds. Now they go on to say that the #2 cross-shop vehicle is the Model Y, and the highest vehicle with brand loyalty of any other vehicles is actually the Model 3, with about a 74% retention rate. So what tends to happen is buyers that buy the Model 3, they tend to go ahead and buy the Model Y, the Model X, or the Model S after their purchase of the Model 3. So after all, Tesla cutting prices in the long term is probably going to be a very positive thing for Tesla's business. Tesla just wants to get people into cars because their brand loyalty is so high. Odds are the next vehicle that consumer purchases, even if it is 3, 5, 7 years down the line in some cases, it's probably going to be another Tesla, and it's probably going to be an even more expensive Tesla. And just to point this out, at $38,990, the base Model 3 now costs $8,700 less than the average amount paid for a car or truck in the US. The starting price for a Model Y is $3,700 below the average auto price of roughly $48,000. So again, in English, Teslas are very inexpensive relative to any other car that you're going to purchase brand new. Or they do include trucks in this as well that do tend to be a little bit more expensive, so the numbers might be a little bit skewed here, but all in all, you get a lot of value buying a Tesla. A lot of bang for your buck, if you will. Costco now has a Hot Wheels Tesla Roadster RC car on a 1-for-10 scale going for $70. I might have to pick one of these up. Tesla boasts the top brand loyalty rate in the first half of 2023, S&P Global Mobility says. The electric vehicle maker's loyalty rate was listed at 68.4%, which was notably higher than the industry average of 50.6%. A new analysis by independent energy research firm Rystad Energy has concluded that battery-powered electric vehicles are, quote, simply better for the environment than diesel or gasoline cars, even in grid-dominated fossil fuels. And it looks like in the US, vehicle emissions are about 58% less when you buy an EV over the course of the vehicle's lifetime. 53% less in China, 58% less in Germany, and 41% less in India. Dan Ives has a new note out on Rivian, and this article covers it. They say Rivian stock is dropping. Credibility is an issue. Quote, one step forward, 2 steps back is a theme for Rivian, wrote Wedbush analyst Dan Ives in a Monday report. He called the capital raise a gut punch. The company's street credibility takes another hit. All in all, Rivian stock has dropped a lot after this $1.5 billion capital raise. This is a problem that you're not going to find with Tesla. And although I like Rivian, I just can't put any money to work in a company that is going to need to dilute massively before they are at a scale of profitability that can support their growing business model. Let's be honest, Rivian's going to continue to need to grow if they can compete on a large scale. They're going to continue to have to raise capital. That's what markets are for, is to raise capital. But shareholders don't like it a bit. We covered this last night, but the Cybertruck's official X account put out this emoji of a sideways triangle, thus assuming here, using a little bit of common sense, that probably means they are actually producing Cybertrucks that are ready to be delivered to customers. The official Tesla account, as well as the Cybertruck account, posted a live stream that was about 7 minutes long last night. Here you can see they're off-roading the Cybertrucks. They're drifting the one right in front here. But I really want to highlight, they use language that is very much indicative of like, we did it. We made it. It's done. They obviously didn't say those words, but they used language like that. Very much at the end of the road for the Cybertruck. The beginning of a new chapter is really the kind of message you get from this commentary here on this live stream. So let's be honest, the Cybertruck delivery announcement could come at any time. It could happen right now as you are watching this video. It could happen tomorrow. It could happen next weekend. If it doesn't happen in those time frames, probably next week on the earnings call is the latest in which I'm expecting this announcement. And I do fully expect this announcement will likely cause Tesla stock to rally 5 to 10% higher when it is announced. 10% higher from here would put the stock at about $287 per share. Now, if earnings are not as bad as expectations and we can actually get a bullish rally off of that, you could very shortly be in the $300+ range. And if I were to go out on a limb, we probably break above 300 before we break under some of our major support levels. One of which being around 240. That's a very important level in which we found a lot of support back here in late September. Now, your moving averages, your levels in which trading algorithms usually trade around, retail investors usually trade around, be it your 50-day moving average is at $250.41. If we get downside due to this Israel conflict, potentially expanding into a broader conflict, well, that's your first level of support on the downside. Your next level is your 100-day moving average. That's at $247.62 per share. That is your orange line right here. And then you get to your 240 level. And then under that, your 200-day moving average is at $209 per share. So in the near term, if things were to get bad, that's basically where you can expect Tesla stock to go to, about your 200-day moving average. Now, good news is, even though things don't look great, you are seeing a fear move today. I do think a lot of this is a fake out. I do think a lot of this move in the markets is definitely from trading algorithms. You still stayed above your 50-day moving average. You didn't even test it. You came down to about $252 at one point today. You're up $8 from the low. Some incredible moves we've seen recently with Tesla. But you were still about $2 off of your 50-day moving average. So that's great. I mean, that's exactly what you want to see. Tesla's stock looks incredibly bullish. If you break out above 265, which is a move higher of about $5 per share, then you start to really get excited, because then you would be breaking out above your longer term downtrending line. The line that connects basically the highs, all-time highs, from the peaks that you've seen subsequently after that. And it's now right at about $265 per share. If you also take a look at the MACD is now in positive territory, trying to make its way higher. Tesla stock was just positive. Last couple of minutes here, markets are falling a little bit, so it's going to be volatile here, but things look good on the MACD. The RSI is at 54.50, so you're basically at that neutral level. That looks pretty good, better than being oversold, that's for sure. And just overall, not a lot of your stocks out there are above their 50-day moving average, whereas Tesla is quite a bit above its 50-day moving average. A matter of fact, only about 20% of stocks are above their 50-day moving average, and Tesla, at the time of recording this video, is about 4% higher than its 50-day moving average. So Tesla is in the super minority of stocks that are 4% or more above their 50-day moving average. Now, Tesla's option activity, on the other hand, is a little bit weird today. You have only seen 479 orders totaling $103.19 million with a positive order value of 55%. The positive order value is good, but this is a really low dollar amount heading into Tesla options today. That's another reason why I do believe this move higher we have seen, and not just Tesla, but specifically the broader markets, is really just a fake out here. You're not getting a big dollar amount buying or really selling anything today. Like, there's no evidence of a lot of money moving around besides the bid in bonds, besides investors buying gold. You don't buy gold unless you are fearful. On a day where oil goes up 4%, you do not buy bonds in a high inflationary environment unless you are fearful. I really hope this makes sense at this point. If it does not, you should really go back and look at maybe some history, and maybe we can do that here together briefly by just looking at TLT. When TLT goes higher, generally speaking, that means there is fear out there, right? What did you see during COVID? Well, bonds spiked big time, okay? This was basically an unprecedented move in bonds. That was because people wanted safety. They were fearful. And then once everyone figured out, well, maybe the fear is overblown, then bonds came down. So you are, on this scale, pretty dang low. You could see quite the fear move here. And even as stocks are going higher, TLT is now up 2.15%. Money is flowing into bonds like nobody's business. But again, back to the option activity with Tesla, you have only seen $103.19 million worth of option activity today. What you've seen back here when Tesla was up 6% on October 4th, so last week, you had about $2 billion worth of option activity in Tesla. Now, why I think there's a really low amount of activity today in Tesla options is probably because fiscal year 2024 started October 1st. The first trading day was October 2nd. So a lot of this money we have seen recently heading into Tesla options are either hedges for 2024 or likely traders trading on the upcoming Cybertruck delivery event. In other words, I think a lot of option buyers have already bought those options. Now let's get into some broader EV news. Toyota plug-in car sales more than doubled in Q3 2023, and it looks like EV sales for Q3 came in at 184,666 vehicles. This increased by 65%. Volvo plug-in car sales more than doubled in September of 2023 as well. During the quarter, the brand sold almost 9,000 rechargeable cars. EV maker Lucid is losing $338,000 per car. The percentage of bullish analyst ratings are down to a record low, and the average sales estimate for the year has halved in 6 months. Subsequently, following this, Lucid stock hit a new all-time low today of $4.88, a 91.5% drop from its all-time high of $57.75 in November of 2021. The company will report its Q3 deliveries later this week, and I would imagine, based on what we're seeing with Lucid's stock price, someone already knows Q3 deliveries are going to be a big disappointment. So that is going to go ahead and do it for this video. Let me know what you guys think about this Israel war conflict and the fear move that we are seeing today. Is this really the start of another move higher for the markets, or is this just one big fake out? Let me know what you think down below in the comment section of this video. As well as that, if you guys would like to come trade with me live in real time, get access to all of my trades, link down below in the description of this video. We would love to have you over there. We're hedging out our portfolios. If this situation does get worse, well, hopefully you are in the best situation to capitalize from it and come out on top. Thank you for watching. My name is Michael Tyler, and I will see you at 9 p.m. tonight.